What if you took two states, a powerhouse and a heartland, and smashed them together? This is not a story about politics. This is a thought experiment. What happens when you take the dense urban engine of Illinois and fuse it with the sprawling, industrial, and natural landscape of Wisconsin? You do not just get a new country, you get a new kind of country. A nation at war with itself before it even has a name. First, the numbers, because the numbers are staggering. Illinois, with a GDP of over $1 trillion, isn't just a state. It's an economic force larger than Switzerland. The Chicago metropolitan area alone produces $886 billion in economic output, making it one of the largest metro economies on the planet. Wisconsin, with its robust manufacturing sector, dairy farms, and forestry industry, brings another $428 billion to the table. Together, this new nation, called Illisconsin, boasts a $1.5 trillion economy. That's larger than South Korea, larger than Australia. It would be the 13th largest economy on the entire planet. Its population of nearly 19 million people would make it the fifth most populous state in the Union if it were still a state. But it's not. It's a country now. And that changes everything. But here is where the thought experiment gets interesting. A country is not just an economy, it's a culture, it's an identity, it's a shared sense of who you are and what you stand for. And the cultures of Wisconsin and Illinois are not just different, they are fundamentally opposed. Illinois is, for all intents and purposes, a city with a state attached to it. The Chicago metropolitan area holds nearly 10 million people, a dense, diverse, and overwhelmingly urban population that controls the state's economy, politics, and identity. Walk through the loop and you are surrounded by skyscrapers, world-class museums, and a financial district that rivals New York. This is a place built on ambition, on speed, on the relentless pursuit of more. Wisconsin is the opposite. It is a state of small towns and mid-sized cities, of 15,000 lakes and vast northern forests. Milwaukee, its largest city, has a population of 590,000. Madison, the capital, is home to 270,000. The rest of the state is a patchwork of dairy farms, paper mills, and tourist towns. Its identity is tied to the land, to its German heritage, to its community-oriented Midwestern values. People in Wisconsin don't just live there, they belong there. They know their neighbors. They go to the same church, the same bar, the same Friday night fish fry. This is a place built on stability, on tradition, on the idea that some things are more important than money. So what happens when you force these two worlds to become one? The first and most obvious conflict is power. The capital of Illisconsin would, by necessity, be Chicago. It is the economic and population center, the only logical choice. But this immediately creates a massive power imbalance. The 10 million people of Chicagoland would dominate every national election. The dairy farmer in rural Wisconsin, the factory worker in Milwaukee, the logger in the Northwoods, their votes and their voices would be almost completely drowned out by the urban giant to the south. In a democracy, numbers are power, and the numbers are not in Wisconsin's favor. This is not a union. It is a hostile takeover. Imagine the first national election. The candidates would spend all their time in Chicago because that's where the votes are. They would promise investments in public transit, in affordable housing, in the kinds of urban infrastructure that Chicago desperately needs. And Wisconsin? Wisconsin would be an afterthought, a place to visit for a photo op at a dairy farm, a quick stop to shake hands at a Packers game, and then back to the real campaign in the city. The resentment would be immediate and intense. The second conflict is money. Chicago's massive financial and service economy would generate the vast majority of the nation's tax revenue. The city is home to the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, to dozens of Fortune 500 companies, and to a labor force of over 6 million people. It is an economic engine that never stops. But where does that money go? Does it get reinvested in Chicago's infrastructure, its public transport, its world-class institutions? Or does it get sent north to subsidize Wisconsin's dairy farms, to maintain its thousands of state parks, to build roads in the sparsely populated Northwoods. The people of Chicago would feel like they were bankrolling a rural state they have little in common with. Why should their tax dollars go to fixing a two-lane highway in the middle of nowhere when the L train is falling apart? Why should they pay for a state park they will never visit when their own neighborhood does not have a decent playground? The people of Wisconsin, on the other hand, would feel like they were living on the scraps of a city that sees them as little more than a vacation destination. They would see the billions flowing into Chicago and wonder why their schools are underfunded, why their hospitals are closing, why their young people are leaving for the city because there are no jobs left. This is not a hypothetical problem. This is the reality of every country with a dominant urban center and a rural hinterland. And in Wisconsin, the imbalance would be extreme. Chicago's economy is more than twice the size of Wisconsin's entire gross domestic product. The city does not just dominate the economy, it is the economy. And that creates a relationship that is fundamentally unequal, fundamentally unsustainable. And the third and most important conflict is identity. What does it mean to be a citizen of Wisconsin? What is the national identity? Is it the fast-paced, high-finance world of the Chicago Loop? Or is it the slow, community-focused life of a small town in Wisconsin? Is the national sport the Bears or the Packers? Is the national drink a craft beer from Milwaukee or a cocktail from a rooftop bar in Chicago? Is the national food deep dish pizza or a cheese curd? These might sound like trivial questions, but they are not. Identity is what holds a nation together. It is what makes people willing to pay taxes, to follow laws, to feel like they are part of something larger than themselves. And in Wisconsin, there is no shared identity. There is only a collection of people who happen to live within the same borders. Wisconsin has a strong, unified identity. It is the land of cheese, of the Packers, of the great outdoors. People in Wisconsin know who they are. Illinois, on the other hand, is fragmented. Chicago is its own world, with its own culture, its own identity. Downstate Illinois, the rural, agricultural part of the state, has almost nothing in common with the city. And now you are adding Wisconsin to the mix, a state with an even stronger, even more distinct identity. The result is not a melting pot, it is a pressure cooker. But here is the twist. While the conflicts are obvious, the synergies are undeniable. The 90-mile corridor between Chicago and Milwaukee, already a bustling economic region, would become the heart of the new nation, a single, sprawling megalopolis. High-speed rail between the two cities would turn them into a single, integrated labor market. You could live in Milwaukee with its lower cost of living and its lakefront charm, and commute to a high-paying job in Chicago. The agricultural bounty of Wisconsin, its dairy farms and its orchards, would become the breadbasket for the massive population of Chicago, creating a self-sufficient food system that reduces dependence on imports. And the 15,000 lakes and vast forests of Wisconsin would become the national parks for the millions of urbanites in Chicago, a weekend escape just a short drive away. The economic potential is staggering. A unified Wisconsin could leverage Chicago's financial and technological prowess with Wisconsin's manufacturing base and natural resources. The Port of Chicago, one of the busiest inland ports in the world, could be integrated with Wisconsin's paper mills and dairy processing plants, creating a seamless supply chain. The University of Chicago, Northwestern, and the University of Wisconsin-Madison could form a research triangle that rivals Silicon Valley. This would not just be a country, it would be an innovation hub, a manufacturing powerhouse, and a tourist destination all rolled into one. So, what is the verdict? What happens when you merge Wisconsin and Illinois? You create a nation of profound and perhaps irreconcilable contradictions, an economic superpower plagued by a permanent identity crisis, a country with a single beating heart in Chicago and a sprawling, disconnected body in Wisconsin. It would be a nation of breathtaking beauty and simmering resentment, of incredible wealth and deep-seated division. A family forced to live under one roof that has absolutely nothing in common. The question is not whether this new nation would be powerful. It absolutely would be. The question is whether it could even survive itself. Could the people of Chicago and the people of Wisconsin learn to see each other as fellow citizens rather than as competitors for resources and power? Could they build a shared identity, a shared sense of purpose that transcends their differences? Or would Wisconsin tear itself apart? A cautionary tale of what happens when you try to force unity on people who have nothing to unite them. This is the experiment. This is the question. And the answer, like the nation itself, is anything but simple.